You think you've healed. You don't react like you used to. You don't chase people anymore. You don't cry as easily. You've become calmer, quieter, more in control. But there's something you don't talk about. Why does your chest still tighten for no reason? Why do you still overthink simple conversations? Why does love still feel a little unsafe? What if you didn't actually heal? What if you just learned how to survive better? Maybe you were the easy one growing up. You didn't cause problems. You stayed quiet when things got tense. You learned early that your feelings were inconvenient. So you adapted. When people raised their voices, you shrank. When something hurt, you told yourself it didn't matter. When you needed comfort, you learned not to ask. And over time, that became your personality. Now people describe you as chill, independent, low maintenance. But they don't see what it costs you to be that way. They don't see how much you hold in, how many times you rehearse a simple message before sending it, how often you say, "It's okay," when it really isn't. Here's the part no one explains. Adapting can look exactly like healing, but they are not the same thing. Healing means the wound is no longer controlling you. Adapting means you've just learned how to move around it. Healing feels like safety. Adapting feels like control. And control is exhausting, because deep down, you're still bracing. Pause for a second. Be honest with yourself. When something goes wrong, do you actually feel your emotions? Or do you immediately try to manage them, fix them, silence them? Do you give yourself space to feel hurt? Or do you tell yourself, it's not a big deal, even when it is? A lot of people don't realize this, but being the strong one is often just unprocessed pain in disguise. You became strong because you had to, not because you were okay. You learned to read people's moods before your own. You learned to avoid conflict instead of expressing yourself. You learned to disconnect instead of feel. And now, it shows up in ways that confuse you. You struggle to open up even when you trust someone. You feel guilty for needing attention. You overanalyze small changes in tone like your safety depends on it. Because at some point, it did. Think about your relationships. Have you ever found yourself pulling away when things start to feel real? Or staying in situations that don't feel right just because they feel familiar? That's not random. That's adaptation. If love once felt unpredictable, your mind learned to stay guarded. If being vulnerable once led to pain, your system learned to stay closed. So now, even when something is healthy, it can feel uncomfortable. And even when something is unhealthy, it can feel normal. Here's another moment to pause. Ask yourself this: do I feel safe, or do I just feel used to it? Because survival patterns don't disappear just because your environment changed. You can leave the situation, but the patterns come with you. You might not be in that house anymore. You might not be around those people anymore. But your body still remembers. It still flinches, still prepares, still protects, even when there's nothing to fight. And this is where the quiet realization hits. You didn't become low maintenance. You became someone who learned not to have needs. You didn't become independent. You became someone who stopped expecting support. You didn't become emotionally strong. You became someone who hides their pain well. That's not healing. That's survival, wearing a mask. But here's the truth most people avoid. You can't heal what you never allowed yourself to feel. Real healing isn't clean, it isn't controlled, and it definitely isn't comfortable. It means letting yourself feel things you spent years avoiding. The sadness, the anger, the loneliness. Not all at once, not in a way that overwhelms you, but honestly. And that's scary, because for so long, feeling wasn't safe. So of course you learned not to. Of course you adapted. That version of you, the one who stayed quiet, who held everything in, who kept going no matter what, that version saved you. But you're not there anymore, and you don't need to survive the same way. Healing starts in small, almost invisible ways. Saying, "That hurt me," instead of, "It's fine." Letting yourself pause instead of pushing through. admitting you need support, even if it feels uncomfortable. It's not about becoming a different person. It's about finally allowing yourself to be a real one. So if you've been feeling like something is still off, like you've done the work but something hasn't fully settled, maybe there's nothing wrong with you. Maybe you didn't heal, you just adapted. And now, you're finally ready to do something different.